Welcome to Stellar Sisters, the podcast where cosmic wisdom meets soul-enriching conversation.
We explore astrology, human design, and the unique blueprint of your soul, helping you understand yourself on a deeper level.
Consider this your permission slip to embrace the magic of being authentically you.
Let's begin. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Stellar Sisters podcast. We are your hosts, Sydney and Chanel. And today we are going to do a little forecast episode for you and kind of get into Mercury retrograde and a new moon coming up and Uranus moving back into Taurus for a little bit of a time before it really has a big long stay in Gemini, and what all that means for you and some things to do and don't do over Mercury retrograde. So before we get into the episode though, how you doing, Chanel?
I'm doing good. October is just flying by so fast. There's a lot of stuff happening, a lot of things happening in my life that I'm just trying to keep up with.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I hear you. Same for me. I have been still working on my pain in my leg. I've been going to acupuncture. That's been really helping. And I went back to Pilates for the first time in like 4 months. And I
That's
was
great.
nervous about that, but didn't think I'd even be able to make it through the class because my leg is still in pain and have sciatica down it. But I was able to do it, just like kind of small baby movements. So that was a win.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I agree. Time is moving so fast. I don't know how today's October 18th and Halloween's coming up, and I just feel like it's going to be tomorrow. It's going to be Halloween. It's just
I know.
moving so quick. And then we're going to have all the holidays, and then it's going to be 2026. So,
I know I am already starting to kind of plan out and map out the astrology of 2026
Mm,
and like all of the major planetary aspects and kind of getting a feel for what each sign is going to experience. And I'm excited to do a whole like 2026 forecast episode. That'll be really
yeah, that's going to be fun. We're going to do that soon in a couple weeks.
fun. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's Faye being for Halloween? Do you know yet?
Yeah, she is, if anybody's into Bluey, she's being Bingo from Bluey. And
Aw.
also Muffin from Bluey. Muffin is Bluey and Bingo's cousin. And then Ben and I are being the parents, Chilean Bandit. So we're all being dogs from the show Bluey.
That's cute.
Yeah. What about Otto? What's he being?
I think Otto is going to be a banana. I am making a banana costume.
Oh my gosh.
Um, bananas are like his favorite food. They've been his favorite food like his whole life. He can always eat a banana. Um, so yeah, I bought some yellow pants and I'm gonna make some like yellow felt banana peels to kind of
Yeah,
stick around his pants so he looks like a little peeled banana. It'll be cute, I think.
that is going to be adorable. Can't wait to see it. To post pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, exciting.
Um, but yeah, so when this comes out, it will be the beginning of November.
Mhm.
So one of the major astrology transits of November is this Mercury retrograde that's coming up. Um, and then we have a very interesting new moon in Scorpio that's happening on November 20th, where Mercury is Cazimi and opposing Uranus in Taurus. So Uranus goes back into Taurus until April 2026. So I just really wanted to do a whole episode kind of explaining Mercury retrograde, um, this specific Mercury retrograde, and that new moon, because that's some pretty special stuff happening in November to
Mhm.
give everybody a heads up on. So,
Yeah.
um, the dates of the Mercury retrograde. So, the retrograde starts November 9th and goes through November 29th. But actually, the pre shadow date happens on October 21st. So that's starting on October 21st. Everything that happens pretty much October 21st through November 9th, those are all of the things that are going to come back up for review during the Mercury retrograde. And then the post shadow retrograde doesn't end until December 17th. So even though Mercury retrograde ends on November 29th, we're still going to kind of be feeling the Mercury retrograde until December 17th, when Mercury moves further into Sagittarius. So we're fully out of all of the degrees that Mercury is retrograding through. So
Mhm.
those are some of the dates. So we're recording this just a couple of days before the pre-shadow begins. So I think
Mhm.
it's always really interesting to watch those pre and post shadow dates.
Definitely. I definitely feel more Mercury retrograde things happening to me during the shadow periods and the day that it stations retrograde and the day that it stations direct. The stuff, and sometimes on the Cazimi day, but the stuff in the middle usually doesn't affect me as much as the shadow periods and the actual station days,
Yeah.
I found.
Yeah, it is really interesting when you start to pay attention to that,
Hmm.
because you might find that to be true.
Yeah. And people will text me too. They're like, what's going on? Is Mercury retrograde? And I'm like, not yet, but it's shadow. Uh,
Um, yeah, so the retrograde starts at 6 degrees of Sag, and then it retrogrades back to 20 degrees of Scorpio. So if you do have any personal planets between those degrees in your chart, you might feel this Mercury retrograde a little bit more strongly. And so, what is Mercury retrograde? So, it is when Mercury appears to be moving backwards in the sky from our point of view from Earth. It doesn't actually move backwards, but it just appears that way from our point of view. And so, Mercury rules things like communication, travel, technology, the mind, your thoughts, basically how we think, speak, and connect. So when Mercury goes retrograde, those areas can feel off, like they're not functioning optimally. Messages get crossed, tech glitches happen, travel plans are changing or shifting, things like that.
mhm.
However, it is an excellent time for review. So all of the words I always think about for retrograde: review, revise, revisit. It's a great time to um, review topics that have come up, especially since that October 21st date. Um, and for specific topics related to your life, you want to look at your Sagittarius and Scorpio houses to kind of see what area of life this retrograde might bring up for you. So, for me, Sag is my 12th house, which is the house of the unconscious, the subconscious, mental health. And Scorpio is my 11th house, which is the house of friends, community. And my midheaven is actually in Scorpio at 20 degrees of Scorpio, which is the
Mm,
date or the degree that it's kind of stationing at. Um, so it also has to do with career themes for me. So um, you can just kind of take a look at what houses in your chart rule Sag and Scorpio, or Sag and Scorpio rule, and go from there.
mhm.
Um, so Mercury retrograde, I think, gets a really bad rap, and people get like scared about Mercury retrograde.
Yeah.
Um, and it is true that like a lot of unpleasant things can happen during Mercury retrograde, like tech glitches and communication mishaps, and it can feel really like frustrating and challenging when like you're not able to get your message across or communicate clearly, or your laptop's not working or whatever. But Mercury retrograde is one of the times that I find I'm actually able to gain the most clarity on how to move forward with things. Because there are tons of insights available during Mercury retrograde. You just have to pause and listen and pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
Mercury retrograde is like the universe's way of building in time for pause, a time for rest, a time for reflection. During this time, we don't have to be constantly pushing forward.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love that. It
Yes,
really is an invitation to slow down, and it kind of makes you slow down.
absolutely. It
Yeah.
forces you to because like nothing's working properly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I find that you can really get clarification on issues, resolution of past challenges, like things might be coming up that need to be revisited and resolved. Some challenges might resurface, but that is to offer you resolution on like whatever might be coming up for you.
Mhm.
Um, and so with this Mercury retrograde starting in Sagittarius, Um, Sagittarius rules big picture things like truth, beliefs, expansion, big picture thinking. So when Mercury is retrograde in Sagittarius, um, we're kind of questioning our big picture direction. Our philosophies, our, truth with the capital T. It's a time to kind of realign your big picture vision with Sag and Scorpio. Or I'm sorry, with Mercury and Sag. And then when Mercury moves back into Scorpio, this is very deep and introspective energy.
Mm.
And Mercury retrograde in Scorpio to me always feels like there are some secrets that are going to come out now. If you've been
Mm.
trying to keep something under wraps, with Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, like all of the secrets are going to be revealed. All of the kind of like deep emotional truth, power dynamics, things that like are hidden might
Mm.
resurface
Oh,
with
especially
Mercury.
with Uranus going back into Taurus. Some
Mhm.
surprising things. Maybe you're not keeping a secret, but maybe someone else is revealing a secret to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Secrets revealed.
Yes. Hmm.
Um,
Or like you stumble upon something and you're just in like the wrong place at the wrong time and you hear something you shouldn't have heard maybe, but maybe you should have heard it. Maybe
yes,
it seems like you shouldn't have, but now that you hear that truth, you're like everything's changing now.
for sure.
Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Mercury retrograde in any sign, but especially in Scorpio, like there are truths to be revealed, you know, during a Mercury retrograde. Things are going to be revealed to you that maybe you weren't previously aware of.
Yeah. Wait, I
Yeah.
gotta say something about that.
Yeah.
So So the gate in human design that Mercury is stationing direct in at the end is called the gate of insights. Like of course this is a Scorpio gate and it's just such an alignment. It's just an extra added layer of this Mercury retrograde, but it's just so Mercury retrograde that this gate is going to offer that clarity and it's going to offer a breakthrough or an insight or some kind of unique idea that's coming to the forefront of your mind in some way. Um, so it's just so fitting that this year it's going
I
to
love that.
station direct in gate 43.
I love that.
Yeah.
Um, that's awesome.
Hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, so we're kind of going from questioning, reimagining our big picture with Sag to kind of digging into emotions, secrets, emotional truth with Scorpio,
Hmm.
with this Mercury retrograde. So I think it's actually a really good kind of realignment for us in terms of our truth and values as we kind of get set up to move into the new year, 2026. Like
Hmm.
what we're kind of given this opportunity to stop and reevaluate these things before we start the new year, which I think is actually kind of really nice.
Yeah, it's really fitting.
So I have just some basic do's and don'ts for Mercury
Okay.
retrograde, but with just a small disclaimer. So, like, I don't let Mercury retrograde rule your life. Like,
No.
don't let Mercury retrograde rule your life. If you need to do any of the don'ts, then do them. This isn't like a never do something because it's Mercury retrograde. But I do think it's nice to know that Mercury is retrograde so you can maybe double, triple check things. Just be aware of it, be mindful of the energy, but don't let Mercury retrograde rule your life.
Yeah, and I would also say lower your expectations if you're traveling or having a tough conversation with someone. Like when I've traveled or people are coming to travel and visit me during a Mercury retrograde, usually the flight's delayed and then it's delayed again, or like they missed their connection, or maybe they had to wait a day to then come because the whole entire flight was canceled, something like that. Or like you're traveling a short distance and it's maybe a 2 hour drive, but it ends up being a 4.5 hour drive because there was construction and then an accident and like something else got in your way, you know? So I would just lower expectations with everything that you're doing and don't think that it's going to go a specific way because it typically doesn't. But also,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So, my list of don'ts is don't buy new electronics or a new vehicle.
Hmm.
But if you do need to get repairs on any of these things, that is totally fine. Don't sign any new contracts, any like brand new contract that comes up. If you do have to sign a contract, just review it, double, triple check it, have somebody else look over it to make sure that everything is correct. Don't launch any brand new projects or initiatives during a Mercury retrograde. If you do, it's not the end of the world, but just expect a lot of revisions to come back.
Hmm.
And don't be vague and don't expect that your communication is clear.
That's a good one. That's a great one.
Yeah.
Uh,
My do's for Mercury retrograde. Do reconnect with people from your past or past projects. Do reflect and listen for insight. Do build build in buffer time for travel or tech issues.
mm,
We were just saying.
yeah.
And do use it to refine what's already in motion. So projects that have already launched, it's a good time to kind of refine and review and revise
Mm.
those projects.
Yeah. Make something better that's not working.
Mhm.
Redo something. I love that. That's a great list of do's and don'ts for this
Yeah.
time.
And I do find that, like, during Mercury retrograde, those natural refinements and things that need to be reviewed come up anyway. So,
Hmm. Yeah, they do. I
yeah.
love the communication one about
Mhm.
like don't expect your communication to be clear because that comes
Yes.
up a lot for me. Even just like sending an email, sometimes like you send the email and it might not even get sent or something during Mercury retrograde and then you're like, why isn't that person getting back to me? Just revisit it, make sure it was actually sent, double check, triple check, all of that.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing with this Mercury retrograde is that it is Thanksgiving,
Mm,
and Black Friday, so that's November 27th, and Black Friday is November 28th, while Mercury's still retrograde. So,
mm,
like, Thanksgiving is one of the biggest holidays where people travel to go be with family, and, Black Friday obviously is a huge day when people buy, like, major electronic purchases. So that's
hmm.
just a fair warning for any of that. If you are traveling for Thanksgiving, maybe expect some delays, expect some, changes maybe coming with travel.
Hmm.
If you do make any big electronic purchases on Black Friday, it's not saying that like you're going to have issues with them, but you could, and that's not to say that it's not totally going to work, but maybe you bought the wrong thing or, you bring it home and it's you realize you have to go back to the store because you need something else or,
Yeah,
you
or the
know,
charger's faulty that they gave you just
yeah,
freakishly.
yeah.
Last year, Mercury retrograde was during Black Friday as well, I believe. Like it had just started. Yeah, it retrograded on November 25th. So I think it was right before Black Friday.
Mm,
And I usually do a lot of my Christmas shopping on Black Friday and Cyber Monday and that whole weekend. And I just remember some of the packages just not coming as quickly. Like that was the one little hiccup I had. Nothing crazy, but I just remember some of the packages, like one just kind of getting stuck and one taking a lot longer than I expected. So
yeah.
it could just be something simple like that, but sometimes that can be an inconvenience in some way.
Yeah. Definitely. That's a good point too, is like Mercury does rule um, the mail system, so there could be a lot of delays or
Hmm.
mix-ups in terms of that stuff as well.
Yeah, just watch out for that.
But there is a very bright spot during this whole Mercury retrograde period, and that really happens on the new moon in Scorpio, which happens on November 20th. And the new moon in Scorpio happens at 28 degrees of Scorpio, and Mercury is actually Cazimi during this new moon, which is a very special aspect where Mercury is within 1 degree of the sun. And when Mercury is, or any planet is within 1 degree of the sun, it gives that planet power. Um, and So when Mercury's Cazimi, it gives us insight and clarity and downloads and guidance. It's like these light bulb moments where you're able to kind of get that insight and download about something. Um, and so this new moon is going to be such a pivotal point during this Mercury retrograde. It's kind of like during the Mercury retrograde, we're moving through the fog. And then when this new moon happens with this Mercury Cazimi, it's like the fog lifts for a moment and you're able to like see clearly how you're supposed to move forward. And then when the Cazimi's over, it gets kind of foggy again, but at least you have this newfound insight and clarity about how you're supposed to move forward with this particular thing.
Mm. Oh, I love this. This is
Yeah.
such a powerful new moon. I was just checking the gate of this. This is gate 14. This is like the gate of the power skills, and it's all about people with this are like a good luck charm in a way, and like
Mm.
knowing what resources will help you in some way. Um, so this could be really cool to work with to set some new intentions around this.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is pretty uh major. Also because this new moon is pretty directly opposite Uranus and Taurus,
Oh, yeah.
which Uranus has been in Gemini for a couple of months now, but Uranus retrograded will retrograde back into Taurus beginning on November 7th. And it will stay there until April 26th of 2026. So we have about like 6 more months ish, 6,
Yeah.
7 more months of Uranus and Taurus. Um, and so Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018, so it's an energy that we have been working with for quite a few years now. So we're kind of finally wrapping up this Uranus and Taurus energy, and with it being directly opposite this new moon with Mercury Cazimi, not only are we having like this insight, clarity, light bulb moment, but it's opposite Uranus, which is about breakthrough and
Hmm.
change and stepping out of how you've always done things. like the old paradigm is falling away and making room for this upgraded version.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and this one, I talked about this in that episode we did with Uranus and Gemini and touching on Taurus, but this one is like all about your creative expression and finding new ways to express yourself. Uranus is really gonna start to show you kind of what your authentic voice is in a way.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is a really, I think, pivotal turning point in the month. Um,
Yeah.
so those first couple of weeks of November might feel a little bit foggy, and then starting with that new moon, it's like, okay, I have this download, this insight, and this is how I'm going to move forward. And don't be afraid if that's something that is like totally out of the norm for you,
Mm-hmm.
doing something like that you've never done before.
Wow,
Um,
this is across my second and eighth houses. So, all about money and other people's money. Just curious to see what'll happen with that.
yeah, it is. I wonder if there's something happening with your job or your income or,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Mm.
Yeah. But okay, I was saying our Uranus in Taurus story isn't over. It's still kind of here to show us where we need to change and evolve and break through in that Taurus part of our lives.
Hmm.
So look at that Taurus house in your chart and what is part of the story that is still left undone that maybe could use some revamping with that. So that's kind of my story and my spiel on Mercury retrograde. I think Mercury retrograde, like I said, gets a bad rap. It can seem like really messy, and it can be, but
Hmm.
it really is such a beautiful opportunity to pause, reflect, reassess, and realign with how we want to move forward. And it's actually a gift to slow down and giving you some much needed clarity and insight on how to move forward.
Hmm. Yeah, and we wouldn't grow as humans if we didn't have these periods of struggle, I guess, if you want to call it, that Mercury can create sometimes or seem like it's creating. Um,
Mhm.
and there are just so many beautiful insights that can come from it. And then, you have maybe a change in your life and you're doing something different or pivoting in some way. So yeah, these periods are great reflection times.
For sure. Yeah. Well, that's what I have for you for November's astrology and Mercury retrograde. So, if you are feeling called for a little bit more support, or if you are curious about what 2026 has in store for you, I'm offering full readings. If you're wanting an astrology consultation or some additional support there, if you are curious about your human design, Sydney is offering full readings there for human design chart readings, which is so helpful. So, yeah, our books are open if you'd like to book a reading. And thanks for listening. And we'll see you on the next episode.
See you.